Okay, well, I'm delighted to welcome Barry Thacker to Policing TV. Barry, you're currently the Chief of Police in the British Overseas Territory on the Falkland Islands. So we're delighted that you have the time to speak to us about police on the overseas territories and your policing career. So a warm welcome to you.
Thank you.
I think, if I may, I'd like to start. You've had a long career starting up in Derbyshire Constabulary and a very varied career you've had. I just wondered for the first segment of a series of interviews whether you could just kind of tell us about your policing career to date, to the UK part of that, perhaps some highlights, perhaps even some lowlights, and just talk about the career you've had.
Yeah, okay. So I came from a simple background. My father was a coal miner. Derbyshire, one of the main coal mining areas where I lived on the Nottinghamshire border. Always wanted to be a police officer. Cliche, I know, and people often say that. One Christmas, my dad bought me a pedal car with a police blue light on, which I absolutely loved. So from about the age of 6, I was always wanted to be a police officer. Looked at being a cadet to start off with. At 16, when they had paid cadets then rather than the volunteer ones they have now. Sadly, I failed my English O level. So I was told, sorry, wait until you're 18 and a half, do your exam again, resit, but come back at 18 and a half to join the real police. So I started working then for a fruit and veg assistant who was himself a special constable in Derbyshire. So I thought, why not try being a special? So I joined, well, I was only 16 at the time. A work experience came up, a government-funded work experience scheme came up at the local police station. So I weighed it up, a proper job at a fruit and veg market or something, try and pursue something that I always wanted to do. Fortunately, I went for the work experience. Within 3 months of the year's apprenticeship type thing, I was taken on as a clerk. So I was an admin clerk, and through that worked up to be a communications room operator. So I answered the 3 nines, logged the calls, and at 18 I joined the Special Constabulary in Derbyshire. Absolutely great career. And then when I was 24, I started as a full-time police officer again in Derbyshire. Absolutely great career. Did 32 years, various aspects throughout Derbyshire. Caused a little bit of upset in 1984 with the miners' strike. I was still living at home. My dad was a striking miner and I was there on the picket lines. But we got over that, and the money that I was bringing in helped support not only my family but also some in the village as well. Where do I start? Frightening bit about being a police officer. I lived in a small mining village where everyone knew each other really, and I was after my training at Brighton, ended up in the big city of Derby, the east end of Derby, with 70 languages being spoke within a square mile, multiracial, multicultural, and my police flat was in the middle of an estate. Everyone knew it was a police flat. And when I first moved in, first time away from home, I had a number of different unmentionable things, food, rubbish, stuff, everything posted through my letterbox. They knew it was a police flat. It didn't last long, that antisocial behaviour, because I think, like anything in life, it's how you treat people, how you talk to people. And that's the key of being a police officer. I got accepted by the estate where the flat was, so it was short-lived. It was, although I was a cop, I was their cop, and quite often they'd come and knock on the door and tell me things off the record, as it was. So I built up a really good intelligence system there and fed that in. Moved then into the training department. We had a big influx of recruits. We'd had a freeze on recruiting, so every 6 weeks we were recruiting 20, 25 officers, which if I could do that now would be an absolute fantastic. I have trouble recruiting anybody now, but I'm sure we'll have a chat about that later. But every 3 or 4 months we were taking on 25 new recruits. I was the field training officer, so I went out, and people that were struggling, looked after them. Set me in good stead, that did. Promotion exams came, sergeant, inspector, and then I finally finished my career, seconded into the county council, looking after community cohesion, community safety, prevent strain of the counter-terrorism contest. During that time, I think the last 16 years of my career I enjoyed it all, but I think the last 16 years when I took on the role of negotiator, hostage negotiator for the force, and saving those lives, being involved with people in crisis. Again, I touched on it before about the way you speak to people, the way you reach out to people, and I was commended on my retirement, saving over 250 lives during that time when I was a hostage and crisis negotiator. Number of kidnaps and things like that. Fortunately, I don't have those on the Falkland Islands. It's a very safe place to live, work and visit. A little bit different from Derbyshire, but again, there are those connections wherever you go. Policing is the same. How you deal with the community are absolutely fantastic in Derbyshire here, and I'm sure wherever your viewers are, where they're policing now. And it's building that relationship between police and community. We all police by consent, and to get that understanding between both you understanding the community and the community understanding the police. I think that makes for a really, really good life, not only for the police, but for the community as a whole.
Barry, listening to you, it's apparent that even from that very young age, with the unfortunate deliveries through the letterbox and how you cope with that you've had a career where you've had the ability just to engage with people in a way that I think sometimes some people struggle to actually do. It's to your credit. And as a fellow negotiator, that resonates with me when you talk around negotiating and that fantastic figure of 250 people. So I think negotiators are those quiet people in the background sometimes. But just touch on a little bit, if you don't mind, just around that negotiating career, because it's an enormously rewarding and challenging role. I know for myself, and it is a team, it's a family of negotiators around the world, isn't it? It's always a subject you want to discuss. But I just touch on that if you could, because it's a phenomenal figure, and touching people's lives like that is quite a rarity on that scale. So I just wonder if you can just touch on that for us.
Yes, certainly. To see people in crisis and that need, it opens up that humanitarian thing in you, the fact that, all there for the grace of God. It could be me that's broke up, my relationships broke up, my whatever crisis they're hitting has hit them into leading them to that really, really low point in their lives. Just as is humour the right word? Just one in particular that springs to mind. I was sat in my office and the phone rang and said, "Barry, can you go to Iceland tonight?" I went, "Yeah, of course I can. Where am I? Ilkeston, Derby, Chesterfield, which Iceland?" They went, "No, Iceland. Be at East Midlands Airport. There's a British subject been kidnapped in Iceland. Will you go?" That was a cracking experience. And when you work with intermediaries as well, so I've had one where I had to persuade a survivor of domestic abuse to talk to their abuser in order to get and to release hostages that he'd taken, and to try and understand and to get into their what's happened to them, and to care for them, and to ensure you don't start any memories or take them back to where they've come from, because some people are so resilient. It's amazed me the people that I've met through my whole policing career, but particularly, as you mentioned, about negotiators themselves. I think I was just trying to think of another one there, but there's so many. I could bore you forever and bore your viewers forever.
Well, I don't think they would, Barry. Thank you for telling us about what is an incredible career. The other thing I just wanted to touch on, for those younger people listening to this and our colleagues, well, they won't realise the impact of the miner strike. And I come from the southeast, so the impact for myself and my colleagues was just earning more overtime. But the impact for policing your own communities in the areas where the strikes were happening were extraordinary. You're the first person I've ever met who's spoken about being in the same kind of household or family unit. I have to ask, because it did, as soon as you said it, it fascinated me about how did that affect family dynamics? Because it was such an emotive strike, wasn't it? It went on for so long. I just wondered how that affected kind of life in that family unit.
Yes, it went on for 9, maybe probably 10 months or so it was.
Yeah,
my dad was an ardent unionist. He stood by the union. If the union said out, it was out. Dynamics initially was somewhat strained. Loving family though, so I've got that to be very, very thankful for. My mum and dad supported me throughout whatever I chose to do, even coming out here to the Falklands on this adventure. But money, it was a mining village. It was a small village, probably, trying to think, probably 15,000 people, smallish community. Everybody knew everybody. Everybody knew I was a cop. Money was the deprivation of money because they've got nothing coming in. So, yeah, my wages and overtime. I know a lot of you from the south that came up to see, and there was a lot of money there for the cops. That helped not only my family, but the closer community as well. So then when it was over, I think that bonded something with us in relation to helped us to regain really the respect that the police had before. I'd like to think I did. That probably sounds a bit big-headed actually, but no, I think that helped us to regain what we once had. It's never been the same. It'll never be the same, but it helped us that way. I went up to Shirebrook, which was an even smaller village than mine. Really, that was really one of the hearts of the strike and the battles between the police and the miners up there. And I think being embedded into a mining family and knowing the hardships that they struggled helped me in my career as community cohesion to start bringing people back together and reintroducing community policing, which I did when I was before I finished in Derbyshire. So life gives us some gifts. I think we might not think at the time that as we're going through them that this is a really, really rough patch. But I think as you look back on your life and look back on your career, you think, yeah, that's really helped me there. I had to go through that in order to achieve this. It's not just career, it's life in general, but I'm very, very grateful for my mum and dad and the support they gave me and the community around me. It's really, really been blessed.
Barry, thank you for sharing what was quite a personal journey for you during the miners' strike, and it's fascinating to hear. As I said, I've never encountered someone who was so close from the police side of you, and thank you for sharing details of your extraordinary career. And as I said before, I think the thing struck me is the community cohesion and that desire to engage has shone you through. So in our second interview, we'll talk around policing on the Falklands, and I'm rather guessing that career in Derbyshire has set you up perfectly for policing 2 small overseas territories in the South Atlantic. But so we'll pick that up in our second segment. But for now, Barry, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts on your amazing career in the UK. And I look forward to speaking to you about the life in the South Atlantic following on from that. So for now, Barry, thank you very much.
It's lovely, Trevor. Thank you. Thank you for your time.